Hey everybody, it's Beth. Welcome to Infinite Garden. Today I'm in curly mode, which often means that I'm in the mood to speak my mind. I've been thinking a lot about how the last year has changed me, especially as I'm starting to go out and interact with other people in ways that are familiar from the past. I've been to a salsa dance party, a 40th birthday party, I've been to a funeral, I've been into work for an important meeting, all of these things. And what I've noticed when I go to do these things is that I feel like maybe some things inside of me have changed in the last year. And it's a combination of the global pandemic that we've all been through and what we've had to do to adjust, and this gray hair transition. And because they happened at the same time as it did for so many women, it's hard for me to separate the two things from each other, so I'm not going to. But I do today want to just tell you about 7 ways that I know that I've changed in the last year. If that sounds interesting to you, please stay tuned. One of the most significant ways that I've changed has been through my diet. Before, with the way my life was, it was really common for me to buy my lunches out during the work day and then to eat out in restaurants for dinner several nights a week. So completely removing restaurant food from my diet and entirely moving to cooking for myself has drastically changed what I cook. I don't make French fries at home. I don't really eat dessert, and I don't make cocktails at my house. I mean, I could, but I don't. I just don't. So I've been drastically reducing my kind of greasy foods, refined sugar, and alcoholic beverages down to the point where I feel so much better. And I've really noticed it in my body in a couple of ways. I've noticed that by drinking less, which before almost all of my drinking was done in social settings, either happy hours or at restaurants, that was really the source of where I would drink. Having removed that entirely, I'm finding that my mood is lifted. I think that had a depressive effect on me the next day often, and I've noticed that. And so if I do now have a couple of glasses of wine, the next day I'll find that I'm kind of down in the dumps, and I'm really evaluating the role of alcohol in my life going forward. I think it's going to have a greatly reduced presence in my life. And I've also found that when I've had French fries, if we've ordered takeout and I've had like something with I've craved a burger and fries because I haven't had it in so long, I'll wind up getting heartburn, which is really uncomfortable and miserable. So now I think I'm maybe not eating fries anymore. It's really interesting. What I am eating is a lot of fruits and vegetables and a lot of lean proteins, just because that's how I'm cooking at home. Reduced salt, all of it. And we've even started reducing our caffeine intake. I used to really rely on a huge carafe of strong coffee every morning to help power through my day. And because my days are different and slightly less, I don't have to force myself through my days the way I used to, I find I can get by on a lot less caffeine, and that has really improved my mood and outlook as well. So those changes have been really significant, and I'm hoping that I can maintain a lot of these changes as we move forward. I think I'll probably have a significantly reduced reliance on buying my lunches out and on eating at restaurants. And if I do eat at restaurants, I think I'll significantly change what I order going forward. I've had a renewed connection with my body as a result of this pandemic. It has really very little to do with the gray hair situation, almost entirely to do with the way the pandemic has changed my habits. But those have been really good, and I feel like at this stage in my life, I think it was actually a blessing for me to reevaluate the way I eat and what I bring into my system. I think it's been a kind of a benefit I didn't expect to get, but I hope to continue on with. So number 1 change for me has been my diet. Another significant change for me has been in my makeup and beauty routine. I think a lot of people experience this. I've never been really amazing at doing my own makeup, and part of that is because I didn't take the time to learn, but during the pandemic I had the time to learn. So I actually got way better at doing my eye makeup. And in terms of my beauty routine, I've also introduced a retinol into my habit. So I started doing that a little bit before the pandemic, but a lot of the retinol journey takes about 6 months to really see results. A lot of that happened while I was in the middle of the pandemic, and I have found that my skin looks way clearer and bouncier as the result of that. So I'm coming out of quarantine, I think, with a little bit nicer skin than I had before, a little bit better eye makeup. We'll see. We'll see if I'm able to keep that up. I think I will be able to. And the other thing is that because of the gray hair transition, I've been reevaluating the colors that I wear in my makeup. The number one thing for me has been foundation. I've always struggled to make a foundation match. My primary reason for that is because my skin is neutral. I'm light medium, so kind of on the fairer end of things, but I'm neither cool nor warm. And I did not realize that until this year. And there was something about the silver hair coming through that helped me to finally really see my actual skin tone. And I've been able to find foundations that match me well. Today I'm wearing Bobbi Brown's skin foundation in look at the light, medium, neutral, whatever. I don't know the exact number of it. But that has been a really great product for me that I found during this time. A much better match than I've had before. And all of that is because I've had time to like focus and try to get it right, and I've also had my natural hair color coming through, which makes it easier for me to see what my skin tone really is. So I'm coming out of this period, I think, with a little bit better makeup routine, and I think definitely better looking skin. A huge difference has been my spending habits. I have a whole video about how much it cost me to dye my hair over the year, so I'm estimating that I've saved at least $1,000 in the last year by not dyeing my hair. I've also, because I have been working from home, I've not been running up to the dry cleaners, which can be very expensive, not good for the environment. And so part of that has been evaluating what I have in my closet and what can be washed by hand. And I've made a commitment not to buy anything new that needs dry cleaning. I have plenty that does. I can just continue to wear my garments that are that do require that level of care, but going forward, nothing new comes in the house that I can't care for here in my house. That's been a major detail, both to save the money and to save the environment. I don't feel like that's something that I want to continue doing. And I've also, of course, we're traveling less. We used to travel kind of like maniacs and eat out a lot, as I mentioned earlier. So having both those two pieces reduced, we've just changed our spending and done more saving, which is really great. I think we will probably do some travel again coming up, but I do foresee a significantly reduced restaurant budget and just generally more awareness of the way that the money was going out the door without mindfulness. We live such busy lives, and especially having hectic jobs and living in an urban center, it's very easy just to keep going and spend whatever it takes to keep the pace up. Having the pace reduced really made it clear that as I say this, I'm having packages delivered. If you heard the doorbell just there, I am shopping online. Listen, that's what happened. But overall, spending has been significantly changed. Another huge change that I didn't even really know that I needed was a change to my pace and the level of solitude and peace. I'm naturally a pretty introverted person. I do love to socialize with the people I'm very close to, but I can get easily overwhelmed in large crowds and big parties. They can sometimes be over much for me. And because we have these, active lives, I was going all the time. It was really rare for me to have an unplanned weekend or even sometimes an unplanned evening. And having my pace slowed way down was revolutionary for me. I didn't realize how overextended I was, how exhausted I was. I still think that, maybe complete quarantine might not be the right level of peace and solitude for me, but it's closer to what I need than what I was doing before. So now going forward, I'm making some choices. I'm reserving Sunday for myself. That's now my day. And I'm really limiting what I'm doing in the evenings. Now that we're kind of getting back into it, a lot of people are inviting me out for drinks and cocktails. And I'm starting to tell people, I'm not really drinking so much anymore. maybe we could go for a walk, maybe we could do something else. And I'm finding there's a lot of people out there that are kind of in the same boat and are grateful for the alternate suggestions. So that has been really interesting too. I'm also finding that the privacy that I've enjoyed during this time, specifically with the gray hair transition piece, was a huge gift for me to be able to go through this transition after watching lots of advice and videos from folks who'd done it prior to the pandemic. I'd braced myself for a lot of like the negative feedback and sort of the awkwardness. But those of us who've been going through this during a time when we have reduced social contact, I think we caught a lucky break in a lot of ways. That's just my opinion. Maybe you don't see it that way, but that's how it feels to me. I just feel very grateful that I was able to kind of go into a private space and just let this process happen while I adjusted to it myself. Now that I'm kind of entering the world with this level of, transition and process, I'm good to go. I'm not concerned. People can say truly whatever they want to me, and it won't change how I feel inside about this, because I'm really solid that this is great for me. And so if somebody wants to project their own insecurities onto me, that's their life journey, not my problem, right? So I have really grounded myself and recalibrated myself to a different pace. And I'm frankly like a little anxious about going back into the world when people talk about getting back to normal. I'm hoping that I can return to something that looks different from quarantine, but not as much like what I was doing before. I don't really want to return to that. I've gotten a lot out of this slower pace and a little more privacy and peace. A huge change that I've gone through is related to self-acceptance and just generally how I feel about myself. I think this comes as much from the gray hair transition as it does from quarantine. With gray hair transition, that process requires that you accept yourself. You're letting what you are naturally show itself, and you have to accept that in order to move forward. So I know that that's been really powerful for me personally. That would have occurred for me whether I was doing this during the pandemic or not. But also the pandemic, I think a lot of us had the experience where we really have to sit down and look at our lives. If you've been living someplace you don't like and suddenly you have to stay there 24/7, it might cause you to think about, why did I choose to live in this particular home or in this city, and why am I doing this job, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of us have spent some time navel gazing, and in that process for me, I, for the most part, came out of it saying like, I'm not doing so badly. Like, I think I like my life. I like myself. I like who I am. I like the fact that I have hobbies. I like that my hair is great on its own without having to chase some sort of ideal. All of that kind of got tied up together, and I had more time just with the solitude and the peace I mentioned before. I had more time for meditation and more time for rest, more time to really listen to my body. And I've realized better what my natural limits are in terms of exertion and overextension, but I've also learned what my possibilities are. I think by finding where those limits are, you can also realize how much power and potential you really have, especially if you give yourself a minute. In my case, I'm a pretty creative person, so giving myself a minute to actually have space for that, I've been able to expand some of my creative skills as well. And so all of that kind of goes together. I just have had a renewed relationship with myself for both reasons, the gray hair transition reason and the being stuck at home with myself. I've realized that, like, hey man, you know what, I'm all right. I don't mind this so much. That's been kind of fun to see. I've also had a revised relationship with fear and with what I worry about. I think a lot of us, I think the whole world really had basically a near-death experience with this COVID-19 crisis. I think a lot of us have had either maybe you caught it and you went through a illness and recovery period, or maybe you were just fearing it. Maybe you lost family members. I have my own experience with this particular pandemic, and it changed what I worry about in a really significant way. Some things I don't worry about at all anymore, and that's also connected to the gray hair transition journey. I don't really care at all what people think about me or say about me. I did for too long, and now like I can't even express to you I don't care at all. And I think that's a combo of going through the gray hair transition thing and the pandemic, just like grounding it to say like, okay, I was so worried about my hair for so long, I'm deciding not to worry about that, and we have a horrible global crisis happening, and this is really putting my perspective, it's changing my perspective. So I don't know, I feel like that was a permanent reset, you know, like I feel like it really limited some of the noise in terms of what I worry about. And it's also connected to me even starting this YouTube channel. I have wanted to start a YouTube channel for like 6+ years, and I've always felt like I couldn't, that because of my professional life, that would be something that would be possibly damaging or problematic, and that it would just be better for me not to do that. And during this time, I realized, like, why not? I'm not going to say anything damaging, like this shouldn't be a problem. And I decided that it was something that if I wanted to do it, I should do it, and I should go ahead and do it. And if someone wants to stop me, they can come over and kind of like push me away from the camera if they can get through the door. You know, that was sort of the way I eventually saw it and decided to start this. So this has been a kind of a major act of courage for me personally, and I'm enjoying it so much. I've been so excited to see I have new subscribers, like a lot of new subscribers, and a lot of people are watching my videos. I'm not doing a lot to promote them outside. I'm just sort of putting out my videos and seeing if they resonate with a small audience, and that's been really all I've been looking for. And I'm really encouraged by how positive this community already is, and then how many people from the community have come over to my channel and checked it out and left me really kind comments. I just love it. It's been so good, and it's helped me reevaluate, you know, what am I afraid of in the end? You know, I should just go for it. And so I just wanted to thank all of you guys out there who, if you're still watching this particular video, or if you've seen some of my other ones, thank you for that support. This has been such a great journey, and I really, really enjoyed connecting with a lot of you. So I wanted to thank you too for that as well. And 7, the major thing that's changed for me that I am slightly concerned about for my future is that I have a massively reduced tolerance for BS. There was something about being home in my own space and having just less to do that I realized how much of the drama that I could get sucked into from before was not necessary at all, and it was related to being spread too thin, active in too many spheres, and not enough in my own private space. I am really crystal clear on what is sort of BS and what is worth worrying about. And so as I sort of start to re-enter the world, I'm noticing the difference, and I'm hoping that what that means is that, you know, I can't control everything that happens, but I can control my response to it. And now that I have greater clarity about what's important and what isn't, I'm hoping that if, you know, BS arises, I'm able not to go on the emotional journey that goes along with it, and I can remain, you know, I can maintain my equanimity and maintain my character, even if I am, you know, dealing with some BS. I can't expect the world to be free of that going forward, but I can change my relationship and my response to it. And so that's something that I hope I can bring into the new era. So those are at least 7 ways that I know that I've changed in the last year. How do you think you've changed? How has the pandemic changed you? What about a gray hair transition, if that's what you're going through as well? I would really love to hear if any of these changes that I've gone through are similar to yours, or other ways that you've changed. It would be wonderful for me to hear that from you. Hope you guys are all doing great, and I hope you have a great week ahead. Thanks so much. Talk soon.